Hello everyone. We are doing your science ACT prep here at San Hogue Early College High School. So here are some questions that can possibly be on the ACT. So the first thing that you see a chart. Well, this chart is called a dichotomous key. A dichotomous key allows you to identify different organisms based on observable traits. All you have to do is follow each step for the correct identification. Now, if you notice, there is some weird names on here. These names are called your scientific names. So if we look at the question, it says, based on the given information, which of the following characteristics distinguishes bat from Pisterius hesperius? So that name is a scientific name. And how we got this name, these are the names of bats, is from a binomial nomenclature. This is how the scientists are able to identify and categorize animals without having a big mix-up, because everybody can say that's a bat, but really what type of bat it is. This right here gives us its own individuality. So let's focus on this question. So based on the information, which of the following characteristics distinguishes bat4? The biggest idea is bat4. So what do we want to do? We want to find where bat4 is. Well, this is going to be on table 2. So let's go to table 2 and we see bat4 here. So with bat4, we identify that it has certain characteristics. It has ears, it has a dorsum, has a muzzle, has the eurypygium, the fur, the tragus, and the forearm. So it acts as what distinguishes it differently from the Pipistrellus hesperus. Well, let's find that on table 1. That is Pipistrellus hesperus. Now, in order for us to find it, you can do this 2 ways. Some people like to work backwards, and some people like to work in order. So in order for you to get here, you would have to follow the instructions from step 1 to where we are here in step 8. So if we do the bat 4's characteristics, I'm going to use a different pen color for bat 4. I'm going to use blue. Now, with these characteristics, one thing that you want to identify is that bat 4 says it has ears that are 15 millimeters long. So if the ears are longer than 25 millimeters or shorter than 25, it tells you to go to different steps. Well, in our case, it's 15. So that is obviously shorter. So we go to step 5. So yes, we skip all the way until we get to step 5. If the eurypygium is, and the eurypygium has this asterisk here, says that that is a wing-like tissue between the hind legs. It says that the eurypygium here is heavily furred. So heavily furred tells me to go to step 6. So then I go to step 6. The fur color is, if I read here, the fur color is black with silver tips. This says black or dark with silver tips. This should be pretty much what our bat should be by the characteristics that were given. Now, we have to find how it's different than Pipistrellus hesperus. I'm going to use green for that. So let's just start back from number 1 and see what the real difference could be. So let's start here. Let's just go as if it was the same steps. So one thing it says here, it says for mm. For curved targets, it says 15 mm long ears, 20 mm long forearm, and heavily furred Uropatagium. Well, if the ears are longer than 25, go to step 2, right? Let's go to step 2. We got step 2. It says that the dorsum's back has 3 spots. Go here, no spots. Well, we wasn't pretty much told about any of that. So we couldn't really identify which one would be which. But let's just keep on going. It says, say he has no spots because that's not his name. So we go to step 3. If the ears are separated at the base, not separated at the base, let's go to step 4. Well, before and these two have names. So once we finish here, we can't go any farther. So that allows me to know that it's not longer than 25. Okay, and then if that's the case, we go back to the beginning and start over. So we have to know that the ears have to be shorter than 25. So it tells us to go where? Step 5. So we're back at step 5. If the Uropatagium is heavily furred, go to step 6. Remember, we went to step 6, but we don't see any of those names that we're trying to find. So not heavily furred says go to step 7. Okay? And if I go to step 7, it says if the tragus is less than 6 millimeters in curve, go to step 8. If it's greater than 6 millimeters in straight, go to step 9. Well, we circled the name earlier and realized it's in step 8. So we identify that this is less than 6 millimeters and curved. So when we go to step 8, the forearm length is greater than 40. So now, what is the biggest difference? Well, this is it right here. Your answer would be D, heavily furred Uropatagium. And the reason why, let's go back and look here. This is where we split. Right here. Step 6 and step 7. We split right in those areas. Now, once we split there, that allows us to know that's the biggest difference. Now, based off of this one, we have another question. Question is based on table 1. Okay, there's 2 tables, but based on table 1's, bats 1 and 2, where can we find bats 1 and 2? Here, off of table 2. Share the same results through, so it stops at which step. So, let's go to bats 1, and I'm going to write bat 1 with blue. And so it says his ears are 20 mm long and separate at the base. So ears are 20, which is obviously shorter. It says go to step 5. I go to step 5. And it says if the Uropatagium is heavily furred, go to step 6. Not heavily furred, go to 7. Well, the Uropatagium says not heavily furred. So I'll go to step 7. And step 7 tells me if the tragus is less than 6 millimeters in curve, go to step 8. If it's greater than 6 millimeters in straight, go to step 9. Well, the tragus here is 4 mm curved. So that is less than in curved, and it says go to step 8. I go to step 8, and it says if the forearm length is greater than 40, it is epicus fuscus. If it's less than 40, it is Pispistrellus hesperius. Now, it is 50, and 50 is greater. So this should be bat 1. Now, let's do this one in orange for bat 2. So bat 2, he is also shorter than 25, right? So we're going to circle that. And that tells us to go to step 5. Step 5 says if the Uropatagium is heavily furred or not furred. So this one says not heavily furred. So we are very similar right now. Then we're going to go to step 7. It says if the tragus is less than or greater than. Well, the tragus here is 7 mm straight. So that is obviously higher than this, and it says go to step 9. And then once we go to step 9, it says if there is any obvious fringe of fur. Well, the fridge of fur here, if you look, it says only an obvious fridge of fur on its edge. So this has to be bat 2. Now, where were they all the same at? They will be circled together, right? Well, let's look. There's only one spot that they circled together, and that was here at step 5. So that means your answer is so. Now, let's go to our next question. According to table 1, Lacerius, Cinereus, and Lacerius Bossavili could have all had the following traits in common, except, so there's a big key word. So the first thing that we want to do is realize it says what? Table 1. Let's find table 1. It has 2 names. Lacerius, Cinereus. The first thing I want to do is find that name. So I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to use purple for that one. And it says Lacerius Bosavelli. Let's use a different color. Okay. Now, one of the key points of this says it has all of the following traits, could have all of the following traits in common, except. Now, we have to figure out what the except is for this. So, let's find how to get there. This is what they all could have in common, except for. So let's look here. How do we get to where we at? And I'm going to still use my red pen. So let's just go here where it says ears are not separated at the base. Okay, so how do we see where ears are not separated? Well, we have to go through. And if I look here, the ears are not separated at the base, right? So in order for me to get here, I start back at 1. If ears are 25, longer than 25, go to step 2, right? Step 2 says if the dorsum is black, go to step 3. So here we get to step 3. So we have to follow this order. So step 2 says the dorsum back has no spots. Go to step 3, separate the base, go to step 4. Once we go to step 4, the muzzle has what? Well, these 2 names are not any of the names that we did. So right now we realize that that's not it. So now let's just jump to J. Well, this says 20 mm long ears, okay? So we're going to go here to where it says the ears is longer than 20, or less than. So we're going to go shorter. So we go to step 5. Step 5 tells us if the Eupatorium is heavily furred and not heavily furred. Well, if it is, this is kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm gonna just mark this out because it at least knows that we're going somewhere. But when it's heavily furred, go to step 6. So step 6 is here. Once we get to step 6, we are here and the names are popping up. So heavily furred is right because the first 2 are based off of this. So the most common would be G. And how did that make sense? So when we did the steps, so 20 guide us all the way down here to find the name. So we have all those in common. Now the ears being separated, some of it we can skip steps, but remember we're going to skip all the way to step 5. So technically we don't really know about this one because we don't really know if they have that. We just skip steps. Sometimes the characteristics do not give us all of the steps that we need. But the only one that would make sense, if anything is longer than that, we're automatically cut off. If it's longer. That's the first thing that we did. And 35 is way longer. The only way we can get to them is having short. Our last question. Same chart. So now, based on table 1, key point here, again, table 1. Which of the following is likely to be most genetically similar to BAT2? So BAT2, right here. Let's look at the characteristics and figure out BAT2. So BAT2 is ears are 18 mm long. So this is the ears are that. That is shorter. So it tells us to go where? Step 5. We're at step 5. If the eupatorium is, then we go here, eupatorium, it says not heavily furred. We go to step 7. Now step 7, if the tragus is, so the tragus here is 7 mm straight. 7 mm straight. And so this says straight, and it's obviously greater than 6 mm. It says go to step 9. So at step 9, we're here. And it says there's obvious fringe. Well, there's obvious fringe on this edge. So this right here obviously is which one? BAT2. Now, which one is in the same category? Yes, it is this one, right? So, which one's obviously most similar? The only thing that's different is that he has the fringe fur between elbows and knees, but most likely genetically similar, which was the key term. So let's find this name inside the answer choice. It's there.